really true. We are trying to kind of break the ground again and make, it's not going to be easy. We're not heading for, right, we've waved a magic wand, we have the strike on the 30th and everything's finished. This crew that are running this government are literally worse than Thatcher. We have lost more in terms of what we've lost in the health service in the last 6 months than we lost under Thatcher. And we've got, we have got an appalling struggle ahead of us. But what we're saying is this can show you that you can have a struggle. All we're doing today is saying you can have a struggle that involves ordinary people. Ordinary people from ordinary homes can be involved in a huge struggle that challenges the might of capitalism and actually shows people that things like building houses, having decent schools, building nurseries are what socialism is, and we're putting an alternative up to what they've got to offer.
Thank you. You've got running the media side of it then that's going to promote it, because I'm oblivious to most of this, you know what I mean, and I lived through the 80s and I didn't know none of this stuff, you know what I mean, so who have you got promoting it that's going to put it to the public?
Only you.
How old were you?
Can I just say one thing?
In the 80s I was like 20, 1960 I was born, you know.
I'm not being facetious or anything,
no,
but it's a huge...
I lived through it, I worked through it and all that.
No, it's a huge problem.
To most of these facts.
No, it's a huge problem, and we haven't got a movement that can retell the story, because the movement that was there is not there now, and those that are left behind have different views of history. I mean, that's the way life is, isn't it? So you have to find your own way. By the way, there is an archive, not of all of this that you've seen tonight, but of parts of it. There's an archive deposited. So that will be available to you. It's available now by appointment, but you can get in there when the new resource opens up next year, I think it is. But you've got to pick people's brains. You've got to talk to people. You've got to read. One thing I would say to the lad who said he's a young trade unionist, you've got to be more knowledgeable than your opponent. When we first joined the Labour Party, old communist types would sneak up to you and say, do you know your rule book, girl? What? Learn your rule book, because they'll use it against you. Now, this is bureaucracy gone mad. Of course it is. But you have to know more than other people, and you have to know the system you're fighting, and you have to know what legislation's going through Parliament. Why are they doing that? What would be the... Look at this today. Northern Rock's gone. We put twice as much into that bank than they get out of it from Virgin.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, he's given a 3-year okay for jobs. We'll wait and see. Even so, most of the jobs have gone already. So it's a con. The whole thing is a con. It's a sham. It's smoke and mirrors. So you've got to learn to get behind it and see what the reality is.
But he's made a very good point there, isn't it? That we need to really start getting this out there.
But you have to start with yourself. Well, that's what I'm saying. You have to start with yourself, because the thing that's lacking with everyone, and me included, is confidence. Once you've got your confidence and you've got your knowledge, I don't mean dogmatic. I hate dogma. I hate closed minds. I don't want that. Anyone can have sheep. I don't want sheep. I want people who can think and say no. All I'm saying is you've got to keep saying no, why, until you're satisfied. Don't be cynical, be a skeptic. Don't accept anything from anyone.
Kathy's raised this issue of people being confident. See, I'm far more confident and optimistic about the future now than I was, say, a few years ago, because the Liverpool struggle didn't start in 1981 or 1982. The struggle to change the Labour Party in Liverpool started in, well, if you want to go back to the 1950s, as part of a long struggle to change the nature of the Liverpool Labour Party. And I mean, I don't want to go into the whole history of what took place, but there were some quite important things that took place, some of which were accidental, on the question of the election of the leader of the Labour Party at one time, which so disgusted people. We even had nuns from the guy's own ward coming down to the District Labour Party complaining and asking for us, and it was that changed, that brought about the level of democracy within the District Labour Party. There was, and if anyone hasn't seen it, I think the exhibition's still on. They should go down to the Blue Coat and have a look at the photographs of the school student strike. that where's he gone? Disappeared now. Dave Sinclair, at the end there. Dave Sinclair took, some of which appeared in the thing. You know, I was involved at the time, but going down to the Blue Coat and seeing those photographs, I was just amazed by them. You know, the size of that of those demonstrations that had taken place. So that what the struggle of the Liverpool councillors was based on a whole series of disputes and strikes and struggles that had taken place in Liverpool over a number of years. And I think over the past year or so, you've actually had more industrial disputes taking place on a national and international scale than we actually had in the 1970s and 80s. There were one or two huge events you can look at, for example, when they arrested they arrested 5 Pentonville dockers, threw them into prison. The day after, there was a general strike throughout the country, and they had to let them go. Enormous events like that. But on Thursday week, we're going to see the biggest wave in this country since the even bigger than the opening days of the general strike of 1926. We've had the student demonstrations, enormous movements of the students, of college and university students, the Occupy movements, which are an international phenomenon now. And I think that all those things mean that the people are on the move and looking for a way to strike back against this Tory Liberal government. The only thing that's missing at the present time, which was there in the Labour Party in the 1970s and 80s, was a strong Marxist core within the Labour Party. That's the, you know, we have to ask the question: why don't the councillors today do what they did in the 80s? You look at that list of councillors. There were people there that couldn't be called left-wing by any stretch of the imagination. People like Eddie Burke, who used to turn up to council meetings with a bow tie, and so on. You know, hardly the horny-handed proletarian son of the soil, if you like. But that was there were people there, that other names, which I won't go into, that now stand firmly on the right wing of the movement. They went along with that struggle because they abided by the democracy of the Labour Party, and that democracy in the Labour Party had at its core that Marxist element behind the militant. And I think that's why someone said that the victory of ideas has to be organised. I think that's still the task before us at the present time, to build a leadership of the working class, an alternative party for the working class against the Labour Party. Now can no longer claim to represent working people at all. It's now a party completely of the ruling class.
It still starts with you.
That's right.
You have to be convinced that that's what you want to do, and then you go out and learn. You don't talk down to people, you learn from people. They're the experts in the end, not you. But
we have to organise ourselves together.
Yeah, but it's still you.
Oh, well, it always comes down to individuals.
Hold on a second. Just because sorry, just Felicity, and then I do want to have more questions or comments off the floor before people come back.
I've got here, and anyone who wants one can have one, I should think. But just about enough. Went and dug them out of my mum's attic. It's what was done in 1 month, just happened to be 1 month, the plan of action that you got when you went to a Labour Party meeting in Liverpool. And it's the month and all the activities that you could have got involved in that month. And it's not election time, but it includes lots and lots of canvassing, of knocking on doors and talking to people. Now, what the Liverpool Women Against the Cuts have been trying to persuade people, the movement, to do against what's happening in the health service is just go and knock on doors and tell people what's happening. Now we have, we've got enough people here to make a difference, but when you see all the other meetings that go on in Liverpool of people who are trying to fight the cuts, there's more than enough people to actually organise themselves to go out and really get the conversation going with people on their doorsteps and in the class. And if we can take away from here, not just the idea that you need the ideas, but you need to get into action to get those ideas discussed with people. And I can remember standing on the doorstep with people I used to represent Speak, and just say, I'm not going to do anything for you, but I will fight if you'll fight with me. All I'm offering is the chance to fight with me. And yet that issue, but you can't do that unless you are on the doorstep talking to people. It's no good sitting in a meeting just saying, oh yes, right, you've got to take the movement out to talk to people. And yeah, the Labour Party's worse than useless. It's like a car with no petrol at the moment. But that doesn't mean that ordinary people in Liverpool can't go out knocking on the doors on the fight against the cuts again. We can.
Sorry, there was the one with white, one at the back, and then there's a guy at the back.
Slow privatisation that's gone on in Liverpool City Council. Enterprise practically taking over everything. What does the power think about that? Will they join us in our struggle? Private companies that have been taken over.
There has been some success with the GMB in unionising the workforce that has been privatised. But the main aim of privatisation, wherever you see it, what's happening in the health service at the moment, is to break the power of the organised workers and to drive down wages. And that, you know, I think we've got to be very, very clear on that. Privatisation, whether it's education with the academies, whether it's what's happening with the health service and Assura, the Virgin brand that is going to be running the health service for us, or whether it's privatisation in the council, it's an attempt to take from ordinary working people and give to the 1%, give to the people who run this country.
Can I just say on that an example, for example, of privatisation within the council has been Liverpool Mutual Homes, where there's a whole range of shenanigans has gone on. They've now voted, the manual staff have now voted to go on strike against the way that they've been sacked and treated by the management of LMH and the companies that have taken them over. And I think that we have to take that up in all our organisations and trade unions to give full support to those workers in LMH that are taking that action. And that's another indication of the strikes and disputes that are taking place everywhere at the present time against the cuts and against the way the working people are being treated at the moment.
Could I just make a point about something that's going to happen?
Yeah, if you could be short about it, because there's 4 people who wanted to make a comment, and I want
to the young girl on privatisation. In about 3 years' time, there's going to be something called commissioning councils. So all local authorities will have the right to become commissioning councils. What does commissioning mean? It means you don't actually do it yourself, you order it. That's what they did with the health service. Turn them into trusts, then commissioners come in, they commission the work. Well, there's one council that has already made it. Everything that they did, one time in-house, then at arm's length, then like enterprise, has now become a commissioning council. So everything it does as a local authority is now outside. Now every council will be able to bid for that, and there's money in it.
Thanks, Cathy. If you wanted them, yeah.
Just what Felicity said about talking to people. I talk all the time. I try to inform people. The one problem is they're under the illusion that if they vote, it makes a difference. So they tell you, oh, we'll just vote them out. We won't, next time we won't vote for them. I said their intention was to come in, decimate the public services as quickly as possible and leave. They don't care about you voting them in. But people don't hold on to that. They just think voting makes a difference, and it doesn't. And they don't realise the NHS is on its way out the door. They will be dying at the side of the road, and they look at you when you say that as if to say, oh, that's not possible. They do in America. We will be dying here with the health service gone, and people just won't wake up. It's scary,
Because they did, we were demonstrating, I was outside of the Royal Hospital, and patients were walking past us, pushing, saying, please support us. It's you we're fighting for. They just push past us.
Yeah. They don't believe the government
They don't believe it.
I think there's a little bit of that, and abusing the position of chair, but I think there's also that thing of, over the last few years, I think there's so much people are having to deal with, so much that we're having to deal with, that sometimes it feels like you can't take anything on more than what you're already doing.
The media,
Sorry.
If you've got someone putting it through to people that this is the way it is, you know what I mean? That's got to be the forefront of what you've got to do, hasn't it?
I mean, it's definitely part of the process. Sorry, I'll just Becky, and then the bloke there, then Tina, and then Leslie. Sorry.
Yeah, just really some feedback for you about the film. Because you don't seem to have had any yet. Just basically, I've been in politics my whole life. I was age 4 on the dockers strike, yelling scabby men to the scabs going in. I was raised by 2 people in front of me now. I was I joined the Socialist Party age 13, so I've heard about the 47 my whole life, basically, information, and I just found it, even though I know so much, so shocking to see the images of what it was like back then, and to hear what people went through from them. Because obviously I know from my mum and Tony what it was like, but to see it there in front of me, and it also sort of makes me more determined now that we can't go back to that. The way the government is going at the moment, and the economy, and the way Liverpool is deteriorating at the moment, we're going to end up with that again. So all these people who say, oh yeah, I was in militant, I was in the YS. We went to a Tony Benn thing a while ago, and there were so many ex-members. Where are you now? Get back involved. Stop this from happening again.
Thanks, Becky. Sorry, Tina, and then was there someone? Oh, and then sorry, Tina. Sorry, you're in the dark. That's partly why. I can just see the little shine. If after Tina I don't say just put your out, just jump up, because I'm not being rude at all. I'm just being a bit dozy. Sorry, go on to Tina, and then Fred. It's Fred, isn't it?
About the media, we don't have access to television, newspapers and radio who will actually allow us to speak freely. They will allow us to speak within arenas of what we say, which is safe. The minute we start speaking truth, or when we start challenging the status quo, they shut us off. And if you look, loads in history, if you look at ever you get the chance, that when anyone has ever mentioned anything which is slightly controversial, looks like it's going to make a difference, suddenly there's a lack of power, suddenly something's going wrong, suddenly we can't hear anymore on the microphone, or someone comes in and goes, well, and talks over them and breaks them down. We're never being allowed to speak. We don't have access. The only time we'll have access to that is when enough people take it over. And that's it. And it's only going to be enough people, every single person here, and every single person you speak to, I speak to, and each one of us speaks to, double the amount of people here, triple, quadruple. It's only us, only individuals, that will only ever challenge the powers that be. They will not allow us in.
I understand all that.
And so
that's where you've got to be going, isn't it?
Yeah, but there are ways that we can do it, and one is talking to people. One is also, setting up something yourself with a group of people, discussion groups, or pamphlets, leaflets, magazines, whatever, or add to magazines, write articles and see what you can get from it. Try and be clever and get things across in a way that might get published. But in a lot of ways, you can't just be open and honest. You've got to actually be a bit clever to, for them to go, oh well, maybe it's not too dangerous to put in and publish, because otherwise So I think there is a way of doing it, but it is for individuals like we did then. It was basically we went knocking on doors, we went into schools, went into colleges. There was Labour Party movements which we had then and don't have now, that we can't access the same way. But you never know. Maybe people could move into the local Labour Party and start moving.
Someone that wants a few quid that can get it in for you, don't they?
Yeah. But we have ways to go as well. It's just it's harder for us because we don't actually own.
Yeah, I understand that.
The media.
Yeah, never give up. Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, T. Fred at the back, yeah.
My name's Fred Saylor. I was a shop steward in Liverpool City Council at that time. I was working with static security, and we had a ballot. It's been mentioned about ballots and strike action, and we had a ballot. We had a secret ballot, and it was conducted fairly, and that ballot was 100% in favour of taking industrial action. 100%, every single member. Where we had failings at that time, with the overall balance of all the council workers, was in the National Union of Teachers and Unison. And I'm not having to go to the National Union of Teachers and Unison, but what it exposed was where we were weak, where we didn't have numbers. That's that in these areas, and also as well, quite a number of the manual workers lived within the city boundary. I'm not saying that the white collar professionals didn't, but they lived in other places. In other words, they were outside of the processes that were taking place in Liverpool. Now, I mean, you know, we're talking about the power of the media. Let's talk about the power of the media. When the Twin Towers come down, and this is just to give one example, you can look at it, it's a classic example. When the Twin Towers come down, there was a 24-hour news reporter, a woman, and if anyone wants this, I'll send them it. And she was standing there, this woman, and she was in New York, and she wasn't a New Yorker, she was from Britain, and she didn't know the skyline. She knew she was in New York, she didn't know the skyline, and what was being showed over her shoulders was the Twin Towers crumbling. And she's reading from a statement, and she's being interviewed by somebody in London. And what she mentioned was building 12, I think it was called, whatever that building was called besides the Twin Towers, had fell. Over her left shoulder, the building was standing up. It was still standing. It was like she was given the script before it actually happened. And as she's actually talking, the building falls down. And then the guy in London says, oh, we've lost contact with Emily in America, or whatever her name was. And that's the power of the media. I mean, that's maybe an extreme example, but it shows you what we're up against here. I mean, when you talk about occupations, I mean, I'll remind some of the comrades here that were involved at the time, that there was a council budget that had to be set by a certain date. We occupied the council chamber, we occupied the town hall, we took it over, we locked it up. We went down the chippy that night and we got a big load of fish cake and chips, about 20 of us, and a load of Guinness, and we sat there upstairs on a silver platter, eating it, knowing the council couldn't set the budget, and the government was like, well, what's that? The council said, we can't set the budget, the people are taking over. So that was an occupation here. The thing is that what you've got is, yes, this record needs to be defended, and the struggle needs to be defended, and the comrades who are involved need to be defended. But you've heard of blacklisting. In other words, if you stand up, your name goes down on the list, you go for the job, without going into the details, blacklisting. What's happened here? What's been going on here is that this struggle that took place in Liverpool has been blacklisted out of the labour and trades union movement. It's not even mentioned. And as a matter of fact, if you dare to mention it, then you've got to face all kinds of people who not really understand what's going on. The thing is, you see, like Shankly said, yet we've won it, and yet we've done it. That's done, what next? And that's what it's about. Not about stroking our feathers and patting each other on the back. Yeah, it's important. Yeah, it's important. But what's next? Last August 2010, the Liverpool City Council, it come out accidentally, I should imagine. I bet you Joe Anderson's not so happy with this. But it was reported that 187,000 people in this city, August 2010, 187,000 people in this city are living below the poverty line. And that figure is increased. And what's got to be, what's also happening as well, one of the things that Anderson's talking about is stopping school milk. Well, I remember that in 1970, because the kids in the schools where I lived were swinging her up, the girls, and the kids were jumping in and out of it. And what they were saying was, Thatcher, the milk snatcher, and everyone was horrified. And here we are, all these years later, a Labour council, no dented shield, 1,200 jobs gone, 2 nurseries closed, more to go, sure starts. There's a never-ending process with this. And what's been proven is that the comrades who were involved at the time, as in the council, as in the units, were right. But that's in the past. This is now. And this has been blacklisted, this struggle out of the movement. And even some people that we may look around and think, well, why are they saying that, or why? It's a bit shocking sometimes. It's a bit shocking. But as someone who's been shocked quite a few times, I think I've become unshockable. And that's what this is about. It's becoming unshockable. We will never ever get fair airing off the press, off the media, off whatever. Any trade union representative, any representative of working class people, this country or anywhere else that stands up, is going to be condemned. Why? Because we challenge the power. We challenge the power of the system that turns us into slaves internationally, and all the things that go on. 800,000 young kids a year dying for malaria. every year, 2 million addicts every year, 90% in the African subcontinent. We've got 1.5 million workers that are working part-time. We've got a million temporary workers. We've got 1 million youth only today or yesterday. And yet it is, yet we'll sell the banks, buy one, get one free. But it's a game that's going on. And what we have to do, it's all right having the rhetoric and the anger and looking back at it. What we need to do, we need to be organised. We need to be organised like we've never been organised before. I'll tell you something now, right? You know a fist can do damage. But I'll tell you what, if you don't know how to hold it, it can't do the damage that it can do. But you know a small finger, if it knows what it's doing, can go right through that. And that's what we've got to do. But yeah, we've got to listen to people. But we need to organise ourselves. What has been done has been done. And what the future is, to be quite honest, under this system, it's a struggle. And what we need to do is to build an organisation. There's a National Shop Stewards Network. I'm a member of the Millets, member of the Socialist Party. What's called a Millet. Still a member. We've got a National Shop Stewards Network. And you know, people think like we fell off the edge of the earth and everything stopped. The fact of it is, we've got an action on the 30th of November. And I'll tell you where that action come from. The action come from the 30th of November. Because on the 29th of September 2010, up in Manchester, there was a TUC Congress that took place. The TUC is representative of all the workers in Britain. And there was a resolution that was moved there by Bob Crow and Mark Sawatka, calling for coordinated action. That was organised through the National Shop Stewards Network. You don't have to be a shop steward to be a member of it. What it's about is people getting together and organising. And the results of that, of the resolution that was moved in September, flowing from that was the 26th of March 2012, when there was over 500,000 down there. And then after that was the public sector workers, the PCS, the NUT, and the other white collar workers, 700,000 workers on the 29th of June. And now we've got the 30th of November. And Felicity is right. It ain't all going to be over on that day. But what it is, it's exposing and it's showing that if we can stand together, that we can win, and we can win. And I'll just
finish on this.
Right? It's been blacklisted. The 47 has been blacklisted out the labour movement, and there's good reasons why. Because under Thatcher, there was only 2 victories that were won. One was the 47, it's never mentioned, and the other one was the poll tax, and it was never mentioned. And have a guess who was leading the 2? Have a guess. Well, you're looking at one of the faces, and I'm only one, which is unimportant. There was many others as well. It was our organisation, it was our ideas, and we won. But it's never ever mentioned. As a matter of fact, they turn around and say that we're difficult to deal with, and I can show you the videos on that as well. Well, we're not difficult to deal with. But these ideas that they've got, they're difficult to deal with. The right wing and whoever they are. What we've got to do is...
Thanks, Fred. I'm not disagreeing with you, but thanks, Fred. Definitely, I just want to make sure that people get it. Sorry, Leslie.
Two quick points, but first, just to say, like, that the film was great, and I think we really need to make sure that that gets out, and you know, get it out, YouTube and all the rest of it linked so that people can see it. Because one of the things about the press that, you know, coming from the Arab Uprising and the Occupy movement have done this. It's not the total solution. You still have to talk to people, but we have got an advantage if we can get things out that aren't totally under the control of the media, because we know the problems that the Labour movement and those on the left and those who want to struggle have always had with the media. But it's interesting, isn't it, that the Occupy movement, for handfuls of people, suddenly got all this media attention because it caught the imagination, not so much of the press, but it caught the mood, if you like, and the imagination of a lot of people, and they were getting the word out, and that in fact created a little bit of press interest, way beyond the proportion of people who were actually involved in those movements. But that takes me on to my other point, because I was at a Liverpool Against the Cuts meeting last week, and I also like the way the film sort of linked the struggle that we could have now and the struggle that needs to take place. But these lads turned up, and it was their first meeting. They'd come along just to find out what was going on, and they were sort of part of the Occupy kind of movement, and they want to get things off the ground in Liverpool. And they were sort of saying, no, well, there's a lot of talk here about, you know, but it's all at the 80s, but what, you know, we've got to do things, you know, it's now like we've got to do things. And I think, one, the film really helps people link the idea of how you get a struggle off the ground. But I think we do need to talk to people like that and, you know, say to people and show that we support those struggles, but link them to that idea of, one, yes, we can struggle. How can we struggle? The fact that we can fight for a socialist alternative. And it is true in some ways that so many powers have gone away from councils. They haven't got a fraction of the power they used to have, but it is that thing, I think, the point Felicity made, of showing that if you put up a fight, if you put up a struggle, then you can gain victories. And even if you don't even win the battle, you can inspire other battles to take place. And I think Fred made an important point that you know, at the back end of the 80s, the poll tax struggle took place without, you know, the ideal support that we would have liked with the, you know, of trade unions and so on. But nevertheless, it was still a mass movement of ordinary people in this country that was, people helped, you know, to get organised and defend themselves and their own communities. And it beat the government, and it was it was part of the death knell of Thatcher, even though she'd smashed the miners, even though she'd surcharged the councillors, she didn't bankrupt them, but she'd smashed a lot of other people, but she didn't defeat. She was defeated on the poll tax. That's put the nails in her coffin. So that we have to try and link these movements together. But the point is, I think the lesson is to have that you know, to have that struggle, and to go and talk to people getting involved in these new struggles as well, to explain to them and use the film to show them that it's not just about people wanting to live in the 80s, even though some of us had, you know, the best and the worst of times in them, to show that point that we can actually struggle and we can organise a struggle.
Thank you. I think you had your hand up, and then I think Lynn wanted to say something, and we'll, if there's any more questions as well and comments. Go for it, sorry.
Thank you for the film, it was wonderful, and it's so important really to make that struggle part of our collective history of resistance, because this is what is inspiring. And as Leslie and Felicity said, we need to know, and the younger generation needs to know that through struggle change is possible. At the same time, I kind of want to repeat a little bit the point that Leslie made about being creative when we are creating a resistance. Creativity will get more young people involved. Because, I mean, all of us who are older generation, we do demonstrations, we do math, we do great flyers, but we need to be more creative and to inspire people, because the vision is not enough. They need to see a part of the history that has been successful, but they need to see that fighting can be fun too. So that's one point. The second point is, right now in Greece there is a major demonstration going on. Police and demonstrators are fighting, and they're still fighting. They started 7:30, and now so 4 hours they're fighting right now. Hopefully we will win all over the world.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Just bring Lynn in before anyone else.
I mean, it's been good hearing what people are saying and what people are doing. And, you know, the Women Against the Cuts and Liverpool Against the Cuts organisations. You got the Socialist Party. You got other small parties on the left, and other young trade unionists who are organised within PCS and so on. And while it's great to hear what we're all doing individually, I think that people have indicated when I've talked to them before, what are we doing together? And whilst we're all getting on with our own individual agendas, why aren't we all together? And one of the things I'd like to raise about was something that Fred raised, which was the national thing, which was the the campaign, the National Shop Stewards campaign, is something that we can do. You don't have to be a steward to go to it. I mean, we interchange, I think, with the cuts organisations. People from all different parties go along to the anti-cuts meetings, and we've got to make sure that we all involve ourselves in that. And yes, we have all got to bury the hatchet, if you like, not in each other's back, but in the backyard, and move forward, because the only way that the poll tax demonstrations and organisation, anti-poll tax movement worked was because it worked together. People went together to do it. The council campaign was only worked because there were so many different factions, if you like, within those 47 or 49 councillors as there were, but they all abided by one democratic decision, which was a load of people. You'd have a DLP meeting, you'd have 300 people at a district Labour Party meeting, unheard of. You don't even get 300 people at a conference of the Labour Party these days. So, you know, we had 300 people in a room making decisions about what the council was going to do. And those people in that room weren't just people who thought, well, we'll go along and I'm going to get in there, you know, and decide what the councillors are going to do. They were people that were sent to that meeting as delegates on behalf of local wards, local constituencies, the co-op people. You had different trade unions sent delegates, and it came from all over the place, and that was where the democratic decisions were made. Now, we haven't got that facility anymore. We don't have a Labour Party that was a broad church that we could all unite under and get together under, and that's where we've got to move forward now. I mean, I'm involved in the Tusk campaign, for instance, the Trade Union and Socialist Coalition, during the election campaign, which was started off with Bob Crow. You've got other trade unionists, leading trade unionists got involved, and there's people from different smaller parties involved, all getting together under that one banner. And maybe that can be expanded for more people to get into and get under that banner, because that's an election campaign that we can say, you don't have to vote for the cuts. There is someone out there you can vote for. There is a way forward. And when the Labour Party was set up, they were lucky if they got 1% of the vote when they first started standing in elections. You know, beginning of the century, you had the Labour Party were nothing. It was Tories and Liberals, and that was all there was. The trade unions came along, fought for by the membership to be formed, and by Labour Party was formed by the trade unions, by the people, for the people. That's what it was supposed to be about. Now it's lost its way over the years. It got rid of what they considered to be the bane or their unelectability. Now they've been elected. What happened when they were elected? They carried out the Tory cuts for them. So if that's the Labour Party now, I don't want to be part of it, because it doesn't represent me, even if they would allow me to rejoin or any of the comrades that were expelled to rejoin.
I'm honoured to have been expelled.
Exactly.
That's it. I mean, it's a badge of pride for many of the comrades. But that's we do have to start looking forward to try and organise something that we can get together on electorally as well, not just in meetings in, you know, out in the sticks or in Liverpool or in London. It's got to be something that we can look for electorally to unite us, because while we're standing against each other, while you've got a Socialist Party candidate and a Socialist Labour candidate and a Socialist Workers' Party, well, they stand with the Labour Party mostly, but there's all different groups on the left all standing against each other. You can't have that. We've tried on occasion to come up with an alliance of, we don't stand against another left-wing group, and in some areas it's worked and some it hasn't. Now we have to drum into people, it's got to work. Because until it does work, until we stand under one united section electorally, then we have no answer.
But just don't
as
have
much
any
as
illusions in voting.
That's it. Don't have the illusions.
Don't have any illusions in
but
anything.
Use that. I mean, the Labour Party was never a revolutionary party. I was a revolutionary in the Labour Party. I had no illusions that the Labour Party was going to lead to the socialist revolution. But what I did have was a vehicle to meet other like-minded people, to be able to go along to meetings and meet young people coming along, get them involved in the Young Socialists. We've always said youth is the key. You know, the Young Socialists was instrumental in building a democratic, strong Labour Party in Liverpool that went ahead with that ended up with the 47. We've got to make sure that we harness that with the youth. There's different vehicles now from back then. You know, we're not saying that it has to be all what we did then has to be done again, because it won't work. What we can do is say that that's a blueprint. You know, you call for things back in 1898. Your demands are going to be different now. You read Trotsky, you read Marx, you read Lenin, you know, you interpret it for today. So you don't say everything's got to be exact, but we do have to use the struggles of the poll tax, the struggles of the 47, to learn how you deal with the media, learn how you get people involved, how you go on the doorstep. Pavement politics, that's what they used to call it when we used to go to election time. Pavement politics every time will win elections. It did for the Liberals before we did it, when we did it better, because we invited those people on the pavements to come along and join us. And that's what's got to go forward now from here.
Thanks, Lynn.
Can I just make a point on the media for the young lady?
Yeah, two seconds. Just is there any other?
Sorry.
Yeah, just is there any last questions or comments? I'm just conscious that we've all said quite a lot between us, and I know there's probably possibly people in the dark, but we could have a chat in the bar as well. This bar or another one. Yourself, because you haven't spoken yet. Yourself, and then T, and then if that's the only last little lot, then we'll kind of wind it up and then go and...
Yeah, I wouldn't mind saying
I'm sorry. Yeah, and then we'll wind it up and then we'll go to the pub. Sorry,
Cheers,
you had your...
Yeah, thanks very much. Thanks for the film. It was brilliant. And really moving as well. I was really moved by it. I was only a little nipper when that stuff was going on, but I've got some vague memories of it, but it moved me deeply, and I thank you for it. Thank you. And thanks for everyone's contribution. I just wanted to not really ask a question, but just make you aware of a sort of presence of 10 of us here, which is and in a sense it's a sort of, you know, in the hope of linking up in solidarity in a sense, but just to make you aware that we came here tonight probably all with different reasons and expectations and stuff, but a little group of us called the Free University of Liverpool have been set up recently to amongst many other things, to fight for a free education for everyone, that education is a right and it's not a privilege, and anyone can be educated and they shouldn't have to pay for it. So we believe passionately about that. But there's also a couple of other things that we've been up to. One of them is a Marx reading group that Dan has been organising, and it's interesting. I think that there's lots of parallels. I think in terms of, not only in terms of ideologies, but also in terms of a kind of energy that I think I feel personally, and that I can see was present in the 47 and what led up to the 47 and all that stuff. And I think that energy is present again, and I think it's being expressed in the Occupy movements and in other little factions that are growing up, and they're talking about stuff. And it feels to me like a really positive time, like a hopeful time. And I think that your film, Artie, comes at a really crucial time, and I think it's sort of superbly well timed. And I'd like to offer some sort of opportunities to get that screened in as many places as possible, and to have as many healthy debates as are going on here, because and I think I don't always speak for everyone at the Free University of Liverpool, but I think I certainly speak for myself when I say that we're learning all the time, and I think to get a chance to learn together and to share these things, and who knows what it's going to mean tomorrow when I think about it all. And when I'm, you know, like you said, you know, just never trust anyone and always be a skeptic and always be questioning and always be asking why, and I think that's a great event you've put on there. So thanks very much.
Thanks.